What's going on? Captain Paul and my good friend Fajardo. What's going on there, Fajardo?
What's up? I'm glad I'm on the right side. You got the pointing right.
I know, man. Shit. I was all confused last time. But speaking of confusion, Alexis Lafrenière is been put on the first line throughout preseason. He has no points thus far in a couple games. It was Benajad and Kreider. It's a very interesting development. They're kind of buying in, giving him the opportunity to be that guy, but be that premier winger. They want him to take that next step in his development. And to be fair to Lafrenière, throughout his 3 years in the NHL, you've seen an uptick in his production each season. He had 39 points in 81 games played with 16 goals, 23 assists, right? Mm-hmm. I think Lafrenière still has the opportunity to develop into a solid top six option. I think the kid line, Kako and Hedel with Lafrenière worked really well. And actually, before, I don't want to steal your thunder, let me just kind of let you explain why you felt that line worked so well.
Well, one of the big things for any line is chemistry, right? Mm-hmm. And chemistry is based on many different factors, right? But one of the big factors that has to play a role in that is how teammates or line mates get along, and how they have similar mentalities so they can read each other a lot quicker and actually click, right? With the kid line, the reason that they were beginning to grow and click is because they have a pretty similar mindset, considering they were all pretty high draft picks, right? They all kind of have been developing at the same pace together. Yeah. And they've brought out the best in each other to this point, and I think that it was only going to continue if they stayed together. Now, throwing Lafrenière with Zibanejad and Kreider, it's kind of like throwing some oil in some water and saying, "Hey, we got vinaigrette." It doesn't work right away. You got to mix it up a little bit. It's going to take some time before it settles in properly.
I think the biggest problem I have with a guy like Lafrenière being put into that situation is I just don't think he's ready yet. I just don't think he's ready yet. I know people could probably complain, he's been in the NHL for 3 seasons. You should see that next step. But I'm looking at a guy that's in his early 20s. Yeah, I think he's still actually 21 right now. Yeah, he's 21 right now. He's turning 22 and actually October 11th, around the start of the NHL season. So he's very young, and I think at times we're expecting a lot from these young players to that third, fourth year, they have to be like Stützle. They have to be scoring 80 to 90 points. And I think with Lafrenière, that's just, it's just not in the cards right now. Now, I could be wrong, but when I'm looking at his style of play as of right now, how he plays, watching some of the preseason footage, I don't think it's really a mesh right now. I think it's going to take a bit more time for him to get to that top 6 caliber.
Right. So let me just re-engage this conversation here. I think you and I touched on it before. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't just have to do with hockey, right? This is just sports in general as it's progressed. Young players are being drafted and paid high amounts of money. Obviously, these guys have, rookie contracts for a couple of years or whatever the case is, but then you have to offer them something big, right? And a lot of them are being offered something big, not because of what they've proven to do, but what their potential is. And so when they're getting paid for what they're potentially going to be, that's why people are like, oh, well, they're getting paid to be this great. No, they're getting paid for the potential to be that great, right? Or to be that kind of player. But doesn't mean it's going to happen right away just because you paid for it. It's going to take some time.
I would actually agree. And at times, those deals have worked out fantastic. Let's just be honest. Certain players around the league, they're paid way below their actual market value because teams invest into a long-term contract. That's what I've talked about repeatedly with some of the player signings throughout the offseason. You should be getting term if you're going to be paying them a high cap hit, because you want, as the cap goes up, you want that deal to make more and more sense and save you money to apply that to other players in your lineup to make a better team. Right. But with getting back with Laffy Taffy, right? He's got some good attributes, big, strong, but there are some knocks on him on the media, and I don't know how true this is. I'm not in this man's personal life, but people have said he's kind of lazy in the offseason. Probably doesn't, work out as hard. I really can't verify these reports. There's been it's just anonymous, you know what I mean? It's anonymous sources, so it's not like something I can really verify.
Right.
But, it does make me question if this guy has that
fire.
Yeah, does he have that fire?
You should be playing like the Eye of the Tiger in the background while you ask this question with Lafreniere's face all over it, right? Does he have the Eye of the Tiger? Does he want to get to that next, that next level? Or is he just expecting to get there, right? Because there's two types of superstars. One that, the ones that just get there, and the ones that work extra hard to get there. And he's been a superstar wherever he's played for so long that maybe he's forgotten a little bit on how to get there, and maybe he doesn't have that fire under his stomach like he used to when he was younger. That could be a factor. I'm not saying that is entirely true or anything like that, but you have to start looking at different points of view and trying to figure out what's going on here, right? Because he's a guy who has proven time and time again that he's been a good hockey player, top level hockey player. Then he hits the NHL and it doesn't happen, right? And you start thinking, well, what's going on? For me, I'll tell you one of the things that I think happened in his development is he got put in the NHL right away.
I agree.
I think he should have been in the A for a couple of seasons.
I actually 100% agree with you. I think some players would benefit playing at the AHL level and building up confidence and working on their game outside of the spotlight.
Yeah.
I think at times there's been certain players in the past I felt were kept in the AHL far too long. But within the last decade, we're seeing guys getting rushed to the NHL that just are not ready. And it's kind of at this level, right? There's physical traits. He was 21 last year and he had 39 points in the NHL. So I kind of keep things in that perspective. I think that's a quality hockey player that has the potential to be very, very good. Mm-hmm. But him being with the Hartford Wolfpack, do I think that would have been really good for him for at least a year? Yeah, because you're allowing this guy away from the lights, the big apple of New York City, right? One of the biggest markets in the world, right? Not just just in the world.
Yeah.
I think it would have done really well for him instead of being, question about his work ethic and things like that. That could have been dealt with in Hartford, Connecticut, because it's not a big, it's not, it's the AHL, it's minor league.
Right. I mean, just to piggyback on that, right? That's so true what you said about being in the Big Apple, right? Because let's just face it, people that are stars elsewhere come to New York and fade. Fade real fast.
Real fast, dude.
Real fast, right? And it's not because they suck. It's because they're so... Forget about just their performance on the ice or whatever sport, on the court, whatever they're doing. Forget about that, right? That's just one aspect of what New York does to you. You have the lights. You have, the people. Then you have the merchandising companies and all. There's so much that comes with, New York. It's not like a smaller hockey town like of Minnesota. Not saying that Minnesota is a small town or anything like that.
They're passionate about their hockey up north.
Love it. I love it.
You got to watch yourself. I don't want us to get beat up on the streets.
Oh, 100%. No. I love it, right? But their focus is hockey. See?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, the bright lights of, this and that. Oh, come be in a commercial. Or, hey, do you want a side role in the movie just because, you play for the Rangers? But so many things that happen in New York just don't happen everywhere else. This is like a central hub for just about any type of business on the planet, right? And then you add someone who is supposed to be a superstar, and you put all these lights on them, and everybody's just like, okay, is he gonna do it this year? Licking their chops, seeing if he kicks off, can I be the first one to get it? So they're always chipping away, so they get that little boost of confidence of I'm probably better than I am, and all this stuff. And it's so convoluted that you tend to lose focus of what you're trying to do, and that happens to a lot of players, whether they're young or even veterans that have come to New York, don't hack it here because of things like that. So it isn't just a knock on him. It's just in general to play for a team like the New York Rangers, the New York Knicks, even the New Jersey Devils and the Islanders, being in this type of environment is very difficult, and it takes special players to get by that and still be able to perform very well. Just saying.
So with Lafreniere being put on the top line, right? There's questions of what are the lines going to look like for this team. Now, personally, I would rather have Blake Wheeler with those two. Yep. I think that makes far more sense. Blake Wheeler is a good playmaker. Zibanejad and Kreider are good finishers. Especially, Z is just a wicked one-timer. And,
ridiculous.
And I think for me, right, they need a right wing. They need a right wing, and it kind of makes you just question, like, well, who's out there? I'm like, well, they really don't have to look too far, just kind of recency. Patrick Kane is recovering, right? He's kind of getting healthy.
He looked good. He looked good in those videos. Did you see the videos?
Yeah, I made a video on the channel about Patty Kane coming back, and I'll be very honest with you. Maybe you have to move a Goodrow to kind of make it happen because he's a $3.65 million cap hit, open up some space for Kane.
Yep.
But I think that would make more sense, bringing Kane back, maybe not on the top line, maybe put him on the second line with Trocheck and Panarin. But I think it would be very good for Lafreniere to be on the third line. I don't think he's ready for a top six role. Now, they could still give him some quality minutes, but I think the kid line with Hito, Kaku, and Lafreniere was a quality third line, and they're all young, and they have a potential to hit another gear. We both acknowledge, right? In the NHL, having secondary scoring is key. How did the Vegas Golden Knights win besides their stellar defense? They had good depth scoring. Yeah. You know, Eichel was a fantastic player, right? He was a superstar during that run. But let's be fair. The Knights were just full of quality hockey players. Nobody that was going to blow your doors down. I mean, yeah, they have Stone, they have Eichel. But outside of a few players on that roster, they were just good quality hockey players where you had even the fourth line scoring. So if you bring back Kane on a cheap deal, right? Or I don't know who else you could possibly acquire, but if you would have to move the guy that would make most sense to Goodrow. But if you move him to acquire a solid wing, it kind of makes things fit better. I don't think Lafreniere is ready for that top line role. I just don't.
I definitely agree. You know, I think Goodrow seems to be the centerpiece of any move that the Rangers will want to do. Whether it be a forward, whether it be a defenseman, or anything of the sort, Goodrow is the most valuable and most likely to get moved. With that 3.6, which is a movable contract, he's still not over the hill at 30. You know, he's still there. You know, like right towards the end of his prime, you can kind of say. And I mean, obviously, we've said it before. We hate saying it, but technically, he has that championship pedigree, right? Yeah. It's the truth. People will pay for that. That's what people pay for in some people, right?
That's why he got paid as much as he did in his last contract, because he's not a $3.65 million player.
Exactly. So, you know, you take a look at all these things and you say, okay, you know what? Well, Goodrow is what you would consider the best trade bait for the New York Rangers, right? Where could he go where you could get a quality piece back? Because he's a very good player, hard nosed. He does a lot of things right, especially during the playoffs two seasons ago. He was key in that run that they had when he took up the center role, and you know he was the only guy winning faceoffs throughout the entire playoffs for them. Right. You know, so I mean he has a lot of value, but I don't think he fits the style that New York is trending towards.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. And I think if the Rangers are going to make a deal, they don't want to get a player back, right? If they want to try to acquire a guy like Kane with some available cap space. Right. And I think with Patrick Kane, just a quick note on that, he's got to be realistic also with his money expectations after coming off a hip surgery. That's the realism. Like, he's not getting anywhere near his $10 million a year. He's not that guy right now or anymore, honestly. But I think when when I'm looking at this, if I'm trading Goodrow, I'm looking to deal him for maybe some picks, maybe some like a third or a fourth or something, or like some later draft picks, maybe with some like okay prospects. Because right now for the Rangers, right, they are in the situation that they have everything. They have the superstar goaltender. They have really good defense. They have a really solid top six. The Rangers have the potential to be that team out of the Eastern Conference. Now, I know they lost to the Devils and that Game 7 wasn't great, but I think the Rangers, with a little bit of tweaking, could be in a very good situation. And let's say you would bring in Patty Kane, who's healthy, and even if he's like 80% of the old Patrick Kane, that's far better than most second-line wingers in the NHL.
Now going with that, right, going back to Lafreniere, I just think that he's in the wrong place right now. And I don't mean the wrong team, right? I just mean the wrong lineup. I just don't think his game meshes well with Zibanejad and Kreider.
Yeah.
I don't even think it meshes with Trocheck and Panarin necessarily, right? Because
I agree, yeah.
He just doesn't have that style. Like, these lines have different styles. Kreider, Zibanejad, they crash the boards hard. Yep. They rotate. They set up for 1-Ts or deflections, right?
Kreider's a god at the tips.
Exactly. So that's their thing, right? And normally they just find a winger that can kind of fit in that. Blake Wheeler, from what I've seen when he was on Winnipeg, and even now during our preseason, he's a guy that likes to get to the front of the net, do some tips himself. He has a good shot as well. Yeah. He fits what they do. So it would make sense to have Wheeler with those guys, right? Panarin, Trocheck. Panarin's always looking for someone to pass it to that can take that shot, which is why they look like they're trying to have Wheeler there, because obviously Wheeler can shoot, right? But I think that he'd be better fit that other line. I agree. And then having someone that can take a shot on Panarin's line with Trocheck and him that can score. Yeah, that's when you start looking at the Patty Kanes or someone else that can put up a good shot off of good passes. Right now, again, no knock on Lafreniere, but there's some guys that have actually gone through the system that are looking really good.
Yeah.
You got Ottman. Ottman looks really good. He's feisty. He's got a good shot. Very good defensively, positionally, and coming back to cover the zone. Right. You got Coyle. He's done what he has to do in the AHL. He's been there for quite some time already. Yeah. He's a pretty good prospect. He looks like he's ready to take that next step. He got a little bit of a chance last year, but I don't think it was a real fair shot. Maybe he deserves one this year, right? Yeah. They have some centerpieces that they haven't really pushed to bring up because obviously they're looking for a little bit more of a veteran center as they try to go deeper into playoffs and things like that. But they have some decent talent in the AHL that's ready to make that jump to the next level to see whether they can cut it or not.
I just think with a guy like Coyle, a guy like Ottman, like 21 and 20, you're kind of running into that same situation. I just don't think they're ready. Now, they look solid in preseason. They've had some good, some of these players have looked pretty damn good. But I also have to remember that it's the preseason, right? So you're going to be facing, maybe a mixture of some NHL players, right? Some NHL players, but you're also being playing some AHL lines as well.
And Lafreniere still couldn't score, just saying.
I mean, that's the sad truth. That is the sad truth about this. And I think
if you're comparing apples to apples,
right? No, you're right. You're right.
They're around the same age, except that some people went through the development portion, and some just went straight to the NHL. And it looks like the development is helping these guys get along to that next step. Now, was that the mistake of the Rangers not throwing Lafreniere into the development process? And he was a first-round draft pick. Doesn't mean you have to throw him into the NHL right away. Right, they fell into the pressure of like, oh, he was a first round draft pick, he should be playing.
He's the first overall pick.
Yeah,
it's kind of just unfortunately when you're drafting somebody that high, most teams will just play him. And that's something where me and you fundamentally don't agree. We fundamentally agree. Other teams would not agree with us. I think it just takes some time.
Except the Kraken, who I respect. I respect the hell out of the Kraken.
Yeah, with what they did with Shane Wright at the time, I was questioning it, but it worked. It worked because I thought they just should have sent him back to juniors way earlier. But you know what? I think for me, I think we kind of both agree. Alexis Lafreniere isn't that guy right now for a top line winger. Could maybe be down the road. But what do you think, viewer? Yes, you. One who clicked on this video. What do you think of Alexis Lafrenière? Do you think he is a top 6 viable winger at this point in his career? Do you think he needs a little bit more seasoning? Do you think that they should kind of put him back to third line? And as for the Patrick Kane talk, do you want your boy Patrick Kane back? So anything else to add here, Fajardo?
I mean, let's be honest, right? For the Rangers, I think it's one of those things where you kind of just want to win, right? Yeah. You kind of just want to know, like, hey, what is it going to take to get this next level? Like, we have a good team, right? And we just now we're hitting humps, right? Yeah, we got lucky 2 seasons ago, and I say lucky because nobody expected the team to play the way they did. We were expecting less, and we got more. Then last season we expected more and got less, right? So what are we expecting this season? I'm just gonna say I'm not expecting anything. So hopefully we get everything, right? I'm going to play the cards.
Let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.